Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something straight from the heart. Love is a beautiful thing, but sometimes we confuse it with something that looks like love but really ain't. We call it attachment. And that right there, that's what messes a lot of good people up. See, attachment says, I can't live without you. But love says, I want to live with you, but I still know who I am without you. That's the difference between holding someone close and holding them hostage. Love is about giving, not clinging. When you truly love someone, you give from a place of abundance, not fear. You give because it feels natural, not because you're scared of losing them. Clinging is what happens when love turns into possession. When you start believing that the other person completes you instead of complimenting you. That's not love, that's dependency. When you cling, you create pressure. You start expecting the other person to constantly feel your emotional needs, to reassure you, to make you feel secure. But love doesn't work that way. The moment love turns into a demand, it stops being love and becomes control. Giving love, real love, means offering what's inside of you without expecting anything in return. It's about letting someone feel safe, seen, and valued, but still letting them be free. See, love is like sunlight. It shines freely. You can't grab sunlight and stuff it in a jar because the moment you do, you lose it. The same goes for people. You can't hold them too tight and expect love to breathe. When you cling, it's like you're suffocating the very thing you want to keep alive. The tighter you hold, the more you push them away. Giving, on the other hand, creates space for love to flow. It's not about giving things. It's about giving peace, trust, and understanding. It's saying, I see you for who you are. And I'm not here to own you. I'm here to walk beside you. That kind of giving builds love that lasts because it's built on respect, not fear. When you give love freely, you stop keeping score. You're not saying, I did this for you, so you owe me that. You love because it's who you are, not because you're trying to earn approval. And when both people give like that, something powerful happens. Love becomes effortless. It doesn't need to be forced or proved. It just is. But when one person starts clinging, love becomes heavy. You start worrying more about being loved than about loving. That's what jealousy creeps in, when insecurity takes over, when arguments start from nothing. Because clinging isn't about love. It's about fear of being alone. Real love doesn't come from fear, it comes from fullness. When you love yourself first, you don't need to cling to anyone else to feel whole. You can give love without losing yourself. That's the kind of love that inspires, not drains. People feel that energy. They're drawn to it because it feels safe, not suffocating. And the funny thing is, the moment you stop clinging, love actually becomes stronger because freedom breeds loyalty. When someone knows they can be themselves around you, no manipulation, no guilt, no emotional traps, they naturally want to stay. Giving love instead of clinging to it is the ultimate expression of strength. It means you trust that what's meant for you will stay, not because you held on tight, but because it chose to. That's real love. Attachment is rooted in fear, while love is rooted in freedom. When people get attached, what they're really doing is holding on to something because they're scared to lose it. It's like building a house on quicksand. You keep trying to hold it together, but deep down, you know it could all fall apart any second. That fear of losing someone makes you cling tighter, act out of insecurity, and sometimes even push them away. Love, on the other hand, is built on trust and freedom. It's not afraid of change or distance because it knows that what's real doesn't need to be controlled. Love says, I choose you, not I need you. And that's a big difference. Attachment binds people out of fear. Love connects people through choice. Fear-based attachment makes you act in ways that don't align with love. You start thinking, what if they stop loving me? What if they find someone better? Those thoughts start driving your behavior. You overthink every message, every tone, every silence. You start trying to please the other person, not because it feels right, but because you're scared of their absence. That's not love, that's anxiety. And anxiety cannot coexist with true love. Love doesn't make you lose sleep worrying about whether you're enough. Love lets you rest in peace, knowing that being yourself is more than enough. When love comes from freedom, it creates space to breathe, to grow, to be human. Freedom-based love says, I love you for who you are, not for what you can give me. It doesn't chain people down, it sets them free. And here's the beautiful part. When someone feels free in love, they stay not out of fear, but because they want to. There's no need for constant reassurance, no begging for attention, no fear of abandonment. Both people can be themselves without walking on eggshells, without pretending to be perfect just to be loved. That's the kind of love that lasts because it's grounded in honesty, not insecurity. People often confuse attachment with love because both can make you feel deeply connected. But attachment is about possession while love is about appreciation. When you're attached, you say, you belong to me. When you love, you say, I'm grateful for you. One traps, the other liberates. Fear says, don't leave me. Love says, even if you go, I'll still wish you well. That kind of love takes maturity, the courage to know that love isn't about ownership. It's about experience. You can love someone deeply without trying to cage them. The truth is, attachment often comes from an empty place inside us. It's a way of trying to fill a void we haven't healed yet. But love comes from a full heart, one that already knows peace within itself. When you choose love over attachment, you're saying, I trust life. I trust myself, and I trust that what's meant for me will stay. That's the power of loving with freedom instead of fear. It's not desperate, it's divine. True love allows both people to grow individually. When love is real, it doesn't demand that one person shrink so the other can shine. It doesn't ask you to give up your dreams, your voice, or your identity just to keep the relationship peaceful. True love is like sunlight and water. It nurtures growth. It helps both souls become better, stronger, wiser versions of themselves. If your love is holding you back from being who you are meant to be, that's not love, that's limitation. Love should make you feel expansive, not small. It should challenge you to rise higher, to evolve, to become more confident in your own skin. Growth in love means you're not the same person you were yesterday, and that's a good thing. When people confuse love with control, growth stops. One partner tries to mold the other into their version of perfect. They start setting unspoken rules how you should talk, dress, behave, or dream. But the moment love becomes controlling, it loses its essence. You can't grow in an environment where you're constantly walking on eggshells, trying to fit into someone else's expectations. Love that's rooted in truth allows both people to be authentic. It says, I accept who you are today, and I'll support who you're becoming tomorrow. That kind of love creates a safe space where growth is not feared, but celebrated. True love doesn't fear change, it embraces it because growth means change. And when both people evolve, the relationship evolves too. You might not always grow at the same pace, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep supporting each other's journey. Love is not about always being identical, it's about being aligned. You don't have to share every interest or every opinion, but you should share the same respect for each other's individuality. The moment love starts demanding you to stop being you, it stops being love and becomes control disguised as care. In true love, you find encouragement, not competition. You celebrate each other's wins without jealousy. You push each other to do better, and you stand together through every storm. Real love inspires you to chase your purpose, not abandon it. When two people are growing together, the bond becomes unbreakable because it's built on mutual respect. There's nothing more beautiful than a partnership where both souls are evolving side by side. Not because they need each other to survive, but because they choose to thrive together. And here's the truth. When you allow growth in love, you keep the spark alive because growth brings freshness, new experiences, new depth. You keep discovering new things about yourself and your partner. You don't get stuck in routine or fear of change because you both trust the process. Love like that doesn't suffocate. It breathes, it moves, it expands. True love never asks you to lose yourself. It helps you find even more of who you are. That's the kind of love that lasts a lifetime. Not by holding on tightly, but by growing freely, together and apart. You can care deeply without losing yourself. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to forget who you are, what you believe in, or what makes you whole. Too many people think that to prove love, they have to sacrifice everything, their time, their goals, even their peace. But real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It doesn't demand that you put yourself last in every situation. You can care for someone with your whole heart and still keep your boundaries strong. Love becomes unhealthy the moment it turns into self-neglect. You can't pour endlessly from a cup that's empty. The best relationships come from two people who know how to love without abandoning themselves. When you lose yourself in love, you lose balance. You start measuring your happiness by how the other person feels. If they're happy, you're happy. If they're distant, your whole world feels off. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. Love was never meant to take your identity away. It was meant to add meaning to it. The truth is, the more grounded you are in yourself, the more capable you become of loving someone else the right way. Because when you're whole, your love is calm, not chaotic. You don't need to chase attention or beg for reassurance because you already know your worth. Caring deeply doesn't mean giving up your space or your dreams. It means sharing your world, not surrendering it. You can be madly in love and still keep your individuality. You can support your partner's growth while still nurturing your own. That balance is what keeps love alive. Because if one person is always giving and the other is always taking, eventually the relationship starts to feel one-sided. Real love happens when both people are full enough to give without losing themselves in the process. It's not about becoming one person. It's about walking side by side as two strong individuals. When you care deeply, you show up, but you don't chase. You listen, but you don't lose your voice. You compromise, but you don't sacrifice your peace. Love isn't about shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's life. It's about expanding together while still honoring your own soul. Sometimes people think that if they love hard enough, they can fix someone or change them, but that's not your job. You can care, you can support, but you can't carry someone's entire emotional weight on your shoulders. The moment you start losing sleep, losing peace, or losing yourself to keep someone, that's not love anymore. That's pain disguised as devotion. True love doesn't drain you, it refills you. It motivates you to become better, not exhausted. When you know how to love without losing yourself, you show up from a place of power. You love with confidence, not desperation. You bring peace, not pressure. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about giving all of yourself away. It's about sharing your best self with someone who values it. That's how you care deeply and still stay true to who you are. When you stop trying to control love, it becomes real. Control is the silent killer of genuine connection because it comes from fear, not trust. So many people try to control how love unfolds. They want to decide how their partner feels, how they act, what they say, where they go. But love was never meant to be managed like that. Love isn't a contract, it's a flow. When you start trying to control it, you block the very thing that makes love beautiful. It's freedom. You can't force someone to love you a certain way, and you can't make them express affection on your terms. The moment you do that, love starts losing its magic. Real love only thrives in honesty, not in manipulation. Control often comes from insecurity. When you're scared of being hurt or abandoned, you start trying to hold on tighter. You start questioning everything, overanalyzing words and doubting actions. But the truth is, love can't breathe under pressure. When you constantly try to direct how love goes, you stop being present in it. You start worrying about outcomes instead of enjoying moments. Love is meant to be felt, not managed. And the hardest thing to learn in love is letting go of control and trusting the process. Because when you trust, you stop forcing things. You stop trying to make someone prove they care. You start to let love just be. You can't control another person's heart, and you shouldn't want to. Everyone deserves the freedom to love authentically. Real connection happens when two people choose each other freely every day, not when one person is pressured into staying. The beauty of real love is that it's voluntary. It's not born from rules or fear. It's born from choice. When someone chooses to love you without being forced, that love has depth. That's the kind of love that lasts because it's sincere, not coerced. When you stop trying to control love, you give both people room to grow. You start to trust that if something is meant for you, it doesn't have to be chased or manipulated. It will stay naturally. And if it doesn't, that just means it wasn't aligned with your journey. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's saying, I don't need to manage this. I trust what's real. That kind of peace allows love to breathe. It lets laughter return. It lets affection flow again. And it keeps resentment from taking root. The truth is, control only gives you the illusion of safety, but it actually steals your joy. The more you try to grip love, the faster it slips away. The people who love the best are the ones who love freely. They don't chase, they don't beg, and they don't force. They love with open hands, not closed fists. Because when you stop trying to control love, you finally allow it to become what it was always meant to be: real, honest, and free. The best kind of love comes from wholeness, not dependency. When you love from a place of wholeness, you bring peace into the relationship, not pressure. You don't come to someone saying, complete me. You come saying, let's grow together. There's a big difference between needing someone to fill your emptiness and wanting to share your fullness with them. Love that's built on need is fragile because it depends on someone else's presence for your happiness. But love that's built on wholeness is strong because it's rooted in self-awareness and balance. When both people are whole, they love freely, not fearfully. They don't depend on each other to feel worthy. They already know their worth. They come together to celebrate love, not to escape loneliness. Dependency feels romantic in the beginning. You start believing that you can't live without that person, that they're the reason you smile, the reason you wake up motivated. But that kind of thinking sets you up for pain because it makes your emotional stability dependent on someone else's actions. The moment they disappoint you or pull away, your world starts to crumble. That's why self-love is the foundation of every healthy relationship. You can't expect someone to fill the gaps you refuse to heal yourself. Wholeness means taking responsibility for your own happiness, your own peace, your own healing. It means learning how to enjoy your own company so you don't seek love out of loneliness. When two whole people come together, the connection feels lighter. There's no constant drama, no fear of abandonment, no silent competition. Instead, there's respect, freedom, and growth. You don't look at your partner as your missing piece. You see them as your mirror, someone who reflects your strength, not your weakness. You share experiences without losing yourself in them. You support their individuality while staying rooted in your own. That's what makes love stable. Two strong foundations coming together, not two broken walls trying to hold each other up. Wholeness also means understanding that love doesn't fix everything. You can love deeply and still face challenges, but when you're whole, you handle them with maturity. You don't panic at the first sign of distance because your identity doesn't depend on constant reassurance. You trust, you communicate, and you stay calm. That peace comes from within. People who love from wholeness don't fear solitude because they've made peace with themselves. They know that being alone isn't a punishment, it's preparation. And when they do find love, they treat it as a blessing, not a necessity. The best kind of love doesn't drain you, it energizes you. It doesn't make you lose yourself, it helps you find even more of who you are. When you love from wholeness, you give without fear, you forgive without resentment, and you walk away without hate if it ends. Because you understand that love isn't about completion, it's about connection. That's the kind of love that stands the test of time. Peaceful, powerful, and free.